They were chasing students, helicopters, they were shooting from above, snipers. So it was chaos. There were dogs. We started to see German shepherds. And it's quite crazy that today, nobody knows of Motsetsi Mashinini. He's a man who's been deleted out of history, the same way as they have deleted Robert Sobukwe, the most recorded person at that time in history in South Africa, the most photographed. Nobody knows Robert Sobukwe today. Nobody has heard the voice of Robert Sobukwe today. Remember Mandela, later on, he became a Hollywood making. He became the popular narrative. He said, I wanted a takeover. I wanted to overpower the system of the day. Therefore, that made him a political prisoner. That's why in Robben Island, he was isolated. For all his time there, he stayed alone. He's the only man in South Africa where an act of parliament was passed to keep him in jail. So that's how dangerous he was. I'm more or less the same now. All these guys, they want to eat. That's why I have no respect for politicians. They say the right things, to capture the imagination of the youth. But once they get into power, it's something else. How many people can be like Sankara? And then you say, we are exploring diplomatic ways. We are still talking. You're talking forever. The enemies say they will walk all over you. South Africa, nobody respects South Africa today. They don't even have helicopters. They don't have planes. They don't have soldiers. Soldiers are overweight. So the modern boy is feminized. The modern boy, I told Gucci. Away. Sanmanani Makaya. This is Ike, chilling with Ike Khumalo. Yeah, welcome to a new episode, on another day, a youth month. This is a youth month, June. It's always a youth month, taking it back from 1976, 16th of June, where we all know what happened in South Africa, when I think about 700 people and students mainly, they died on that day because they were protesting the Afrikaans, but it was more than, protesting the language. It was a protest against the system of the day. The youth of Soweto, I think, and parts of Kwalanga, they protested, they said no. Before that, we were under the British Empire, where the generation before us, they learned everything in English under royal education. So now when the Afrikaners, they took over from 1948, slowly they began to change the laws. They began to entrench themselves, into the fabric of South Africa. So now came a time when Bantu education was adopted and when we were told, which, you're going to start learning everything in Afrikaans. Imagine, doing geography, Afrikaans, doing mathematics in Afrikaans. Students were complaining, which is difficult enough. That's where, we got introduced to a leader like Motsetsi Mashinini, Bo Kgotso Seahlolo, Bo Muntu Mieza, Bo Pani Mogatle. Pani Mogatle was part of that group, ya Motsetsi Mashinini. He went to exile. Actually, he's a friend of mine, but he's a bit ill now. I think he's in the Northwest. Pani Mogatle is supposed to be the king of the Bakatla, but he was shot some time ago because, the rivalry. So he fled, he stayed in Alexander, but I heard that he's back to, in the Northwest. But he's supposed to be the king. His father was supposed to be the rightful heir of that king because there's platinum that side, So that's where we find ourselves. So that's why when people asking me today about leadership, what do I think about Floyd Shivambu? What do I think about Jacob Zuma? What do I think about Thabo Mbeki? I always, reference the leaders who were alive when I was born. So for me, that's the highest form of leadership. People who sacrifice their lives. Robert Sobukwe was still alive when I was born. Stephen Biko was still alive when I was born. And they were fighting for nothing other than freedom. Unlike the leaders that we have today, it's about, what's going to get into their pockets. Hence, I don't recognize them. I don't see them. That's why I've lost interest in politics. I look at these ninkampoms, saying whatever that they want to say on TV, be it Thabo Mbeki, Cyril Ramaphosa, but you'll follow the money. You'll find out, Guti. They are BEE employees. You know, most people talking about equity. I know my team here, they are big on equity and the BEE. You know, so for some of us, we are BEE out, you know, because I like empowerment, but in building new economies, you know, we've had affirmative actions in America, 1960s, you know, and here in South Africa, 1990, we started to talk about equity, inclusiveness, you know, BEE, affirmative action, and all that. It has benefited the so-called politicians, you know, up there. Nothing has trickled down. Hence, you know, I'm not a fan, you know, of those terms, you know, inequality and all that. We've been talking about that. You know, the more you build more companies like the Afrikaners did, you know, you will include your people, you know, nothing better than that. Build new companies instead of concentrating in the few, the dwindling few. And now you see what things are happening in the sky there, you know, and it has become difficult even to, you know, track the monies of these big, you know, companies. I mean, I remember 2001, Thabo Mbeki allowed, you know, the biggest capital migration, you know, where you had companies going to London being listed there, you know, so much happened then, you know. Yeah, it's a crime. South Africa, it's a crime scene. So that's where we find ourselves. So Mina, you know, 1976, I was there. I was there watching because I was still a kid. I think 1976, I was still around, 4 years, you know, 3 to 4. I think I was going from 3 to 4. You know, I was at daycare. I saw tear gas for the first time. We started to taste this tear gas for the first time. And that morning, you know, it started strangely because before I could go to a crèche, you know, next to our house, I saw a helicopter landing next to another primary school near us. And we were shocked with what was happening. It was early in the morning, around 7. And later on, the helicopter landed, you know, in the garden, because they were chasing students, you know, helicopters, they were shooting from above, you know, snipers. So it was chaos. There were dogs. We started to see German Shepherds. To this day, I still call German Shepherd a police dog. I think every black person in South Africa calls a German Shepherd a police dog. So, yeah, we started seeing them because they were chasing students, you know, arresting them. Some of my family members ran, you know, to exile. I won't name them, you know, for many reasons. So it was like that. So we wanted to be part of the action as we were growing up, you know, because the June 16, it was still fresh, you know, Azania, it was the term that, you know, everybody was like, you know, echoing, Tsietsi Mashinini. And it's quite crazy that today, nobody knows of Tsietsi Mashinini. He's a man who's been deleted out of history, the same way as they have deleted Robert Sobukwe. Here's a man like Robert Sobukwe. The man who was, you know, the most recorded person at that time in history in South Africa, the most photographed, you know, nobody knows Robert Sobukwe today. Nobody has heard the voice of Robert Sobukwe today. The voice of Robert Sobukwe cannot be found. BBC interviewed him. SABC, they interviewed him. But interviews that are older, you know, then Robert Sobukwe, they are there. Mandela's interview is there. Malcolm X's interview is there. You know, even Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight, is there. Because the man was, you know, not compromising. You know, he had this undying spirit. That's why we called Robert Sobukwe the defier of the undefiable. Actually, Robert Sobukwe, he's known as the only political prisoner in Robben Island. I think it was Foster at the time when the international press, they were asking him, why is he keeping prisoners in Robben Island? He said in Robben Island, there are no political prisoners. Mandela was there. All the, you know, Kabalga Mandela, Bosisulu, they were there. You know, he said there are no political prisoners in Robben Island. The only man who is a political prisoner is Robert Sobukwe. The other one, he doesn't know why they are, you know, arrested. And there was also a young prisoner by Dikgang Moseneke. Many will remember this Dikgang Moseneke. He became a chief deputy judge at the Constitutional Court, Chief Justice Deputy. And he was the youngest political prisoner. or the so-called prisoner, because Botha has said there are no political prisoners except for Robert Sobukwe. He was 16, and they say he was the youngest. And when he came out, because I remember this very well, because even in law, there's a course that we did. It has to do with ethics, where they said, Dikgang Moseneke, he denied the PAC. He was arrested under the banner of the PAC. Because when you have to be admitted, he was admitted, in the 80s, during apartheid, they asked him, listen, you've got a conviction. And if you become a lawyer, you must have no conviction, or it must be explained away, that conviction. You must be fit and proper. So they asked Dikgang Moseneke. He said, he was sent to the shop to go buy bread. He met a group of people running, and that's when he was caught up in that group and he was arrested. He denied that he was with PAC. Unlike Mandela, this is where I give Mandela credit. Abraham Fisher, known as Bram Fisher, I give Bram Fisher credit, because when Mandela at some point, he was threatened with being struck off the roll, as practitioners. And they asked him, how can you, as a lawyer, defy the very same law that you're supposed to, uphold? He said his conscience, can never allow him, to practice, laws that are illegal. He won that case. Bram Fisher was also accused of the same, because, he's not following the very same laws that, he was admitted under the apartheid law, because as a lawyer at that time, you were supposed to push in paper and pen without questioning the laws. As a judge, if they asked for a death sentence, you needed to, push the laws as it was. So these ones, they refused. They said, what, my political consciousness comes first, because something legal and something immoral, these are two things that don't mix. The laws can be laws, or something you find that it is legal, but it is immoral. So, and I'm not surprised when you find out that Dikgang Moseneke became the first black beneficiary of the BEE. Him and Tato Motlana and Mohanyele, they became the poster boys of the BEE. You want to ask something?
So what is
Don't cut, we're going continuous.
What is it that they were banned for? Why is it that their speeches are not as propagated as, your Mandela's ones?
You're talking what day? Who's they?
Robert Sobukwe and Tsietsi Mashinini.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. Because Robert Sobukwe and Tsietsi Mashinini, they don't, form part of the narrative. Remember Mandela, later on, he became a Hollywood making. He became the popular narrative. And he was talking equal rights. He was talking civil rights. These ones, they are not talking civil rights. Mandela and the ANC, they were more of a civil rights movement. These other ones are revolutionaries. They wanted to take over. When Robert Sobukwe was in court, the judge asked him and said, Robert Sobukwe, why are you fighting? Robert Sobukwe said he wanted the eradication of the colonial rule. The judge asked him, do you want to overturn over 300 years of colonial rule and replace it with a black majority at that time? And it's quite interesting how he defined the black and African. Sobukwe didn't believe in black, he believed in African. And hence they asked him, who's an African? He said, a man who pays his loyalty to Africa, irrespective of the shape of his nose or color of his skin. But he said, yes, I wanted to do that. He did not deny. He said, I wanted a takeover. I wanted to overpower the system of the day. Therefore, that made him a political prisoner. That's why in Robben Island, he was isolated. For all his time there, he stayed alone. These other ones were mixing. They said he's a bad influence. He will influence Abu Mandela. So Tsietsi Mashinini is a student of that. Like Stephen Biko. Stephen Biko, his hero is Robert Sobukwe. In one meeting, when Sobukwe was banned, after years he came out of jail, he met Steve Biko. And Stephen Biko didn't know that he was going to meet Sobukwe. And they say, Xolela Mancu also quote that. He said, when they meet Sobukwe, Stephen Biko said, even God is here. But said it in Xhosa, meaning that Sobukwe is God, because he he saw Sobukwe as his role model. He was about to take over. So Robert Sobukwe believed in many things that we should do away with the Western colonialism and establish a South African or African order. He believed in Pan-Africanism. He was a Pan-Africanist, Robert Sobukwe. So he saw himself, with a continental view, the same way as Cecil John Rhodes at that time. They saw Africa as one and say, we need to colonize the whole continent. So even with him, he saw Africa, through that eye, of a Pan-Africanist. So he was that person. He was uncompromising, and he didn't believe, in fighting only apartheid laws. He was mainly about the land as well. As PAC, they've been championing the land debate and the land issue, and he believed in armed struggle. He was more of a radical. If I were to make an example, in America, the earlier Malcolm X and the earlier Martin Luther King, Robert Sobukwe will be a Malcolm X. So that's why he was isolated, and then he was written out of history. There was a Snyman Commission where they said Robert Sobukwe must not be known, he must be deleted. And even when he was in jail, he served his sentence, but he was extended. That's why they had to meet, on the eve of his release. The parliament had to convene, and they passed a special act, or a special law, which is known as the Sobukwe Clause. They had to make an amendment to allow him so that he's kept in prison beyond, the duration that he was supposed to. He's the only man in South Africa where an act of parliament was passed to keep him in jail. So that's how dangerous he was. He was a professor at that time, in the 50s. At Wits, when many black people were not professors, he was traveling, using a train, preaching. He was a Methodist pastor. When his contemporaries like Bomandela, they were riding on Thunderbirds, they were living like Scotanis, they were living a soft life. You wanted to say something?
I want to know, had he been propagated the way Mandela was, how would the youth of today be, as opposed to what they are now? And what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I will say this. PAC, it was popular than the ANC in the 60s. And this is an organization that was banned, after, maybe within a year after it was launched. When they left ANC, remember Robert Sobukwe comes from the ANC. His departure was because the ANC had adopted the Freedom Charter. And the Freedom Charter was seen as in conflict with the youth program of the ANC, because the 1949 ANC Youth League adopted a program of action, and the 1955 Congress or Congress of the People in Kliptown, they adopted the Freedom Charter, which was contradicting that, because the first line of the Freedom Charter was saying, South Africa belongs to all who live in it. That's where the PAC had a problem and say, South Africa belongs, to South Africans or Africans, something like that. Because remember, back in the days, there was still this debate between Dutch and, colonialism, and the oppressed and Europeans, non-Europeans and all that. And then they saw it as a betrayal, because the PAC was mainly black. PAC didn't have white members, and AZAPO didn't have white members. So it was those, differentiations, and they felt good. The ANC was collaborating with the communists like Joe Slovo, and that influence is the one that brought in the Freedom Charter. So they had issues with the Freedom Charter, and then they formed the PAC. And the youth of the country at that time, like the EFF when it was starting, PAC, had that vibe. And that's when they came up with the PASS, programs, Sharpeville, where 1960 people were killed. So people didn't take ANC seriously. But through time, Americans, promoting the ANC because it was the better devil, And there was even, echoes, but the PAC is saying will drive a white man to the sea. I don't know how true is that. They were calling the PAC the Avia beer of black people. Something like that.
Have they won, or had they been more marketed, right? And had they had more influence on the 2000s of today? Do you think the 2000s would be acting differently today?
I don't know. Let me say this. With politics, I hear most people, they will ask a question, go to what would Tambo do? What will, or would Sobukwe do? I don't know. Hani. Maybe Hani will be a Skotani. Maybe Hani will be a entrepreneur. We don't know, I can only judge by then, because now there is, a PAC in parliament. There is a MP who's also a minister. What is he doing? And I, for one, I've been part of both organizations. I started, in the ANC. I went to the PAC. And I realized that, no, these are more or less the same now. All these guys, they want to eat. That's why I have no respect for politicians. They say the right things, to capture the imagination of the youth. But once they get into power, it's something else. How many people can be like Sankara? How many people can be like Patrice Lumumba? Patrice Lumumba died. Who's emulating Patrice Lumumba now? Sankara, at least, in what's this kind? Not Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso. They have Traore. After how many years? If Traore dies, who's going to emulate him? Who's going to come in his shoes? You might find another person who's a traitor. So it's difficult to say, what would they do? Because I judge people, by policies, and in the now. So I find out that these guys, they all want to eat. So that's where we find ourselves. So it's unfortunate, where we find ourselves, as you see the politics of today. All these politicians, government officials, they're not interested in liberating a South African. Check what is happening during, the Ukraine versus Russia conflict. It has revealed where we find ourselves. Cyril Ramaphosa came. He said he's sticking with the West. When Russia started to attack Ukraine, he said, no, Putin must withdraw. And then Naledi Pandor came and says, no. Tina, we are with Russia because of BRICS and, many things, And Naledi Pandor, we all know that Naledi Pandor, her religion, she's now in, in the Islamic faith and, Iran, all that, politics and discussions. So Cyril Ramaphosa had to be, brought back because of the mandate of the ANC. The ANC, they went with, Iran. They went with Palestine against Israel. He was forced to. Even now, on the question of Trump, under normal circumstances, Cyril Ramaphosa will be siding with the West, with Trump. But he's forced by the ANC because the ANC kept on pulling him back. Remember the ANC, they say they're a broad church. They've got capitalism inside, socialists, they've got, Satanists, Christians, Muslims, gender, whatever. So they've got all of them in one house. So now people like Cyril, they've got, dollars, they were made by the West. So he finds it difficult, to navigate between East and West, with ease. So he's always driven, towards the West. That's why he found it quicker to go to Trump, to straighten relations and taking into account as well that, America, they say it's one of our number one trading partners. Sometimes negotiations don't work. This is not South Africa where Rwanda is hitting them left and right with bullets. They kill their soldiers and they capture others. And then you say, we are exploring diplomatic ways. You are still talking. You're talking forever. The enemies say they will walk all over you. South Africa, nobody respects South Africa today. They don't even have helicopters. They don't have planes. They don't have soldiers. Soldiers are overweight. Others, they get pregnant on a mission. They come back and say, who's impregnating the soldiers? Are they impregnated by generals? By the armies who captured them, the M23? Are they impregnated by themselves, or the people in DRC are impregnating our soldiers? We don't know. But, that's not a good picture, because when they're hit, cornered, you hear the president of the so-called number one in the Africa, he says, yeah, we are negotiating. Even Lesotho, hey, they don't see us. You keep on saying, no, we are looking at diplomatic ties, as we are told by Mandela, to negotiate. Sometimes you don't need to negotiate. In CAR, South Africa was humiliated during the Zuma era. They were surrounded by rebels. And what did they do? because they don't want to be emotional, diplomatic, logical. Now we are negotiating. How would you feel when your family members is captured there in foreign land? America don't play it like that. If there are soldiers in Afghanistan, they say release our soldiers or else. Those are emotions. When now you'll be like Will Smith, somebody comes here in your house and sleep with your wife, and then your wife calls you to a program on TV and say, honey, how do you feel about my entanglement? Now you there. You don't want to be emotional. We have an open relationship. You smile. You must hit the table. Damn it. It's over. So the modern boy is feminized. The modern boy, you're told it's not that deep. You're told no, honey, why are you insecure? It's the same thing as a woman. They'll tell you you are insecure, you are controlling. I'm saying I must control you. I must know your whereabouts so that I can protect you. I'm the protector, so I'm like your father. So in a relationship, because sometimes you don't know what you want. So, and then they'll tell you it is not that deep. Hey, you'll go deep, Baba. Somebody has been there. But anyway, that's another story. But these ones, I don't know, man. I'm trying to find words that are palatable. This, normally, I don't think of Floyd. But I will say this, Floyd made a mistake join the MK party, unless it's a strategy of the EFF. Unless it's a strategy of the EFF to go collapse MK. I don't know how, because in the EFF he was respected. Even though Malema had said that he's here to stay, he's going nowhere. Because I remember there was one press conference, I think that's the press conference that shook Floyd. Because after the elections, that dismal performance, Malema was saying, I'm going nowhere. I mean, if you want to challenge me, I'm still young, I'm still healthy, I'm going to be here. And whoever's challenging me is going to come out, bloody on the other side. I think Floyd realized, this thing is also a family business of Ratanang. I'm not going to lead this thing anytime soon. The same way as Mkhonto says, it's a family stockfeld. You can see what it was. Come on. I mean, for me to believe in the MK or Zuma, I even told Uvavi at some point, I supported Jacob Zuma because they believed that it was going to support their program. I said for me to believe or to have believed in Jacob Zuma, even then, I needed to lower my thinking capacity, my brain, to 127 degrees below zero temperatures for me to understand what Zuma. But other than that, I don't see Zuma, MK, yeah, Nyabeza ukuthi Gwaza Mkhonto, ayikho Gwaza lapho. They just want to eat. Check their members, these are people who just want to eat, So that's where we find ourselves. Yeah, but other than that, as I'm shutting down, closing, yeah, as they normally say, go to follow, share, subscribe, comment. Yeah, I'm out. I'll see you next time on another episode. Yeah, where we're talking about life in general. Ayoba.